How in the world did Donald Trump end up as the Republican nominee for President of the United States? I guess I'll start by explaining that in some ways he's an accidental candidate. There's evidence, as in a statement by a former top campaign aide, that he really never intended to win when he ran. He ran as a marketing vehicle to increase the popularity of his brand for business purposes, thinking he wouldn't win, but it would help his business a lot. But he did win, and here we are. So why is that the case? Well, partly it's because he is a great showman, a very popular celebrity in some quarters, and he's very good at making use of the media through Twitter, through controversial statements, through some of his debate performances and claims. He really dominated the news cycle many days, so he just got a lot more attention than other candidates. But he's very good at that. There's another factor at play in that he's really has been very assertive about nativist claims, that is, claims against foreigners, exploiting fear of foreigners, exploiting the people's fear that Muslims will come in and supposedly launch terrorist attacks, or that Mexicans will come in the country and take away people's jobs. At the same time, I guess I should emphasize that not all of what Trump is taking advantage of are illegitimate issues, such as this nativism that he's exploiting. A lot of people, particularly who formerly held manufacturing jobs or whose relatives did, and who've seen those jobs go overseas, have real resentment or fears about international trade. And Trump has said he'll renegotiate all those trade agreements against China and against other countries. So he's made use of that. And also people have some legitimate resentment against Wall Street, against the 2007 financial crisis, where a lot of people lost jobs and haven't fully recovered it all. Trump has made use of those legitimate fears also, and in fact, in some ways, by being against trade and by being against Wall Street, he's even gone against some Republican Party leaders who are very pro-trade and pro-Wall Street. One other issue to take into account, which perhaps gets a bit less attention, is that Trump is not in some ways a great departure from trends in the Republican Party. He's an extension of them. The best evidence of that came in 2008 when John McCain, who's a conservative but not a far right-winger and not someone who's a real nativist, who's very open-hearted in a lot of ways, picked Sarah Palin, who is a very far right-winger, as his vice presidential candidate. Someone thoroughly unqualified to be president, but real nativist appeal, real appeal to America as a place just as a whites-only environment. Sarah Palin was about that. So Donald Trump is not the first national candidate we've had, candidate for national office, who made those kinds of appeals. He's an extension of trends that were going on in the Republican Party already, as represented partly, but not only, by Sarah Palin. So what are Donald Trump's chances of actually becoming president of the United States, being elected in November? I'll give you my best guess regarding what's going to happen. And my best guess is that he'll lose, for a variety of factors. First and foremost, he simply has alienated too many people. Even though Hillary Clinton herself is kind of unpopular, Trump is more so, particularly in terms of key voting blocs. Hispanics, he's alienated them by claiming that Mexicans who come into the U.S. are often rapists or other kinds of criminals. He's made all sorts of derogatory statements about women over the years, including in this presidential campaign. So that counts against him. He also has the fact that Hillary Clinton will run a better organized technical campaign in terms of getting out the vote. That's part of how Barack Obama won in 2008 and 2012, by using some modern communication and voter identification techniques to identify people who will vote for him, to appeal to them on certain issues, to reach out to them by phone, knocking on doors, and getting them out the door to vote. So those are some really key considerations. I think Hillary may also do well in the debates against him. Trump actually has problems, not just in terms of his attitude towards women, but in running against them. The one candidate he had problems with in the debate when he was running for the Republican nomination was a Republican businesswoman named Carly Fiorina, who fired back at him quite persuasively. Now, a couple of caveats. If there's a big terrorist attack, people may panic and vote for the supposed strongman. If there's a real economic downturn, or even a modest one, history teaches us that the party in power suffers in the presidential election as a result of that. And the Democrats are the party in power. So if there is a recession come November, Trump could win because of that. And there's another factor that's out there that's getting less attention, but it involves, and it's not Trump's fault, but the Republican Party in certain states has practiced some really powerful, or promulgated some really powerful voter suppression laws and policies requiring photo IDs because it alleges that these are necessary to make sure that people vote. It's that people who vote are honest about it. They really are entitled to vote, but it's a phony issue, but it does exclude young people who may have moved from out of state, some older people, people who are poor and don't have driver's licenses, which is a main kind of voter ID. So those things could work for him. Having said all that, I'm pretty confident, not absolutely sure, but pretty confident that Donald Trump will lose and Hillary Clinton will be the next president of the US.